This video is looking at the King Scale Gauge 3 Duchess locomotive and probably applies to most of the tender locomotives. We're looking at the inner of the tender at the moment. You can see the gas tank, filler valve, opening valve for the admission of gas to the loco, and the hand pump, which is on the left looking in the direction of travel. You can see from the hand pump copper pipe going down to the floor of the tender, and also a return pipe on the right hand side that comes back from the axle pump of the locomotive. So when we look at the pipework on the front, there's 3 pipes. The left hand pipe is for delivery of water via the hand pump or from the axle pump to the engine. The right hand pipe is for return of water from the engine, and the central rubber pipe, that's the gas pipe that goes onto the locomotive. So just to demonstrate this underneath now, the pipe that delivers the water under pressure is the one which is now on our right, which is on the left of the tender. That's the one with the steel spring over. The steel spring is there to stop the expansion of the tube and splitting, because when it's under pressure they do try and bulge. The other pipe without the spring on, that's the return water from the engine, and the central pipe is the gas pipe. There's a wealth of detail on there, including water scoop, brake gear, and some very vulnerable parts, so you do have to be careful. But that's the tender, looking at the tender. So we're looking in the Duchess cab now. You've got the viewer for the firebox, you've got the fitting that the gas screws onto, you've got a reverser, you've got your regulator handle here, you've also got a whistle, which is where the pull-out regulator would be on certain locos. Got your pressure gauge, got your sight glass, and also you've got a blow-down valve for the sight glass on there. Under the cab there's 2 ferrules for screwing the pipework onto, connecting the tender, which we'll look at next. This is the underside of the loco. You've got 2 cylinders and cranks on the front axle. Their drive is derived from the outer valve gear through the frames above the bogie. There's drain cocks on the cylinders. These are automatic ones with a little plastic ball that floats on the water, lets the condensate escape through the pipe. You've also got drain cocks on the inner cylinders as well. You can see these under here. This is the axle pump body, and this is the eccentric for driving the axle pump. Before you run your loco, you need to oil everything in here that moves. Some light oil on all these parts. Looking here, you've got the 2 spigots that the water goes onto. The left hand one is the feed, which goes to the left hand on the tender. The right hand one is the one that delivers the water coming back from the engine. It's very fiddly to put these on when the loco's sat on the track. Some people keep the loco and tender coupled together to save having to dismantle this. However, if you do that, it's very difficult to turn the tender and the loco over, because you should be oiling inside and outside after every run. So I suggest you get used to uncoupling the tender and oiling your locomotive every time. This here on the right hand side of the loco is the bypass valve. when this is open, water coming in from the tender comes down here, goes to the axle pump, and if this bypass valve's open, it takes the easiest point of return and goes back to the tender from here. However, if this bypass valve is closed home, the needle in the valve stops it from going back to the tender, so it then has to take the second route, which is down another pipe to a clack valve in the boiler to fill the boiler. So as the engine's running, usually you want to start with this fully closed. When the boiler starts filling above the desired amount, you can crack the bypass open and get to a sweet spot where you're just delivering the right amount of water to what's being used. This takes some learning to do. If you can get yourself a rolling road, it's very nice to sit and just watch your engine running on the rolling road and determine what amount of bypass you need open and get used to controlling your water into the locomotive.
And they were a pain.
So the delivery pipe for the water has the ferrule over, and I'm just sliding the other one now onto the return pipe. They're sat ready, so when the loco is coupled to the tender. So this is the tricky part now, offering the ferrules up to the spigots, pushing the rubber pipes on and tightening them up, which I probably can't do on video, but I'll try and get one started and then set it recording again. So I've just pushed the rubber pipe on, can push it onto that spigot more firmly, then get hold of the old olive or ferrule or whatever you want to call it and start spinning that on. The right hand side's the return feed, so it's not as critical to be nipped up as tight with the fingers, but it's still very awkward. Yeah. Just tipping the engine on its side can give you a little bit of help, but very gradual. You get the rubber pipe on and then the ferrule, and you'll be able to do it carefully. Once you've got your ferrules on, you can get your hand underneath and nip them up. Notice that I've not coupled the drawbar and the pin at any point because it's easier while the tender can go backwards and forwards to do this. I've just nipped the left hand one up now nice and tight. The right hand one doesn't need to be tight because it doesn't come back under pressure. We can't put the gas pipe on until we've got the drawbar pin in place, so I'll show you that next. This is the tender drawbar pin. Very fiddly to get in on its own, but king scale supply this tool with the loco. So what you do is lightly thread that onto there. So now it's on the extension, and then at this point you can remove the cab roof out of the way. And then you can offer up the pin using the tool. Just move the tender backwards and forwards till the pin engages the hole. There's two holes, unless you've got a really generous layout. Probably best going on the second hole. Once you've got the pin engaged where you want it to do, if you pull the tender back and put a bit of gentle pressure on, you can then unscrew the extension tool out of the actual pin, and there your engine and tender is coupled together. You can then take your rubber pipe supplying the gas and push that onto the spigot. Don't forget to put your floor plate down. And slide the old ferrule over. And tighten that up. Nice and finger tight there. Till it clamps down onto the rubber tube. So now the loco is all connected up, gas and water connections all made. Before we start pumping water into the boiler, first of all we'll open the bypass and we'll pump water with the handle and check that it's returning into the tender. So this is the first thing you should always check. This way you know that the hand pump works. It's returning water to the tender. So now we know the hand pump works, I can close this bypass valve, and when I pump water now I can feel a resistance. Water is pumping past the clack valve in the loco and filling the boiler. I need to repeat this process until we have about 2/3 of a glass of water showing in the cab. If the loco's not had water in the boiler before, it might seem to be taking a long time to fill, but you must look at the water in the tender and appreciate that it's going down and it is filling the boiler up. So just be patient and keep pumping away and waiting until it shows. Sometimes while you're pumping you might get dribbles of water coming through from the axle pump. Sometimes just moving the engine a quarter of a turn or something can ease that dripping, but sometimes the glands need tightening up on the axle pump. Not sure whether you can appreciate this on film, but the water in the gauge glass now is about 4/5 of the way up from the top. Using the tool for the reverser, you can set forward and reverse. It can be quite stiff. You might need to roll the loco backwards and forwards to get it moving. So with the gas valve closed, invert the bottle and press the adapter nozzle down. On a large loco like these Pacifics, can take a long time to fill, and when liquid starts being expelled from the filler nozzle you know that it's full, and once it's full and you've got your engine working normally, you can expect it to run for around 50 minutes on one filling. So the vapours you can see coming out are just cold air being expelled from the gas nozzle. The filler nozzles that are supplied sometimes are difficult to get gas in. There are people on eBay selling replacement Ronson filler nozzles, and it's recommended to get one. It should be an Acicraft type thread rather than a roundhouse thread. I'm not sure if it's 4.5 or 5mm, but replacements are available along with tools for unscrewing them. You can either light the loco through the chimney, or some prefer to open the smoke box door. The smoke box door is an actual prototypical bar and pin, so you need to unscrew the outer handle and then turn the inner handle through 90 degrees to open the door. So you're all set now, ready for lighting up the loco. So we turn the gas on in the tender so we can hear it travelling through the boiler. And then with a suitable lighter, we'll light it in the smoke box.
It's not. There it goes.
When it lights, it does a little pop and it howls slightly. You can close your smoke box door up and then just double check your ceramic firebox will start glowing orange, and then you can just sit back and wait for your pressure to build up. Depending on how long you want to be before you set off, you can just leave it burning gently, or you can open it up there. Slow is always better. So after a few minutes in steam, we're starting to get the needle moving on the pressure gauge. Won't be long till we can think about hooking up to our train and starting out. So we're in steam now, blowing off, all ready to go, just waiting for the road. One thing I must stress is when you're setting the locos off, open the regulator only slightly and push the loco at least a few yards to get rid of the condensate in the cylinders. If you open the regulator too far to make it move on its own, when that condensate is cleared, it'll be off like a shot. So do set off with care.
You've no fire ash.
So as you're setting off, if you push, you'll see the condensate coming out of the chimney. The gauge glass has a blow down on the bottom. You can unscrew this handle, which is quite tight.
I'll be starting at 7¼ inch down south. Alright. So there's a particular place
And that lets the steam out, and then as you close it, the water rises back up, so you can check the water level if you're unsure. You can also, when the locos cool down at the end of the day, if you wish, you can blow all the water out while there's still a little steam pressure in to completely clear your boiler out and have a lighter loco to carry home. So after a run, you need to replenish your steam oil and remove the water from the sump. You could do this prior to a run, but we find it's better to do it post-run while it's still warm. Plus, if you do it after a run, you don't forget to do it, and you know your loco's always ready for action. You need a thin pipe on a syringe and withdraw the liquid that's sat on top of the oil in the sump.
The original engineers, they just follow the same valley through. Right. And that happens with a lot of the canals. And then
Okay.
brewing, I think.
So when you've emptied the water with a Duchess, you will probably need to syringe the oil into the syringe rather than pour it straight in, because the filler's at an angle. You can also note how much water's come out, and then you'll know how much oil to put back in.
Hello, 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 hello. It's what we've all been waiting for. You definitely need an apron on to run that.
This is just to prove that the aprons weren't a fiddle by the treasurer. Yes, it cost me £80.
Yeah, £80 for one, yeah.
I think you got pressure, Ashley.
And once you've replenished your oil, you can put your filler cap back in place. And then Gently nip it up with a screwdriver. Make sure you use a screwdriver where the blade's as wide as the filler, otherwise you'll damage the filler cap. This video is looking at the King's.
Slowing a bit, I think, isn't it?